Hi, Sydney. Where are you from? Which
I
part of the
am
world are you in?
so I grew up in northeastern Pennsylvania, but I am living in Pittsburgh right now.
Okay, in terms of the geography, so is it like central, east side? Which one is that from the map? I'm
Oh,
bad
where are
at it.
you? Where are
I'm
you?
I'm from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Oh, okay, so then you have no idea.
Yeah, I have
Um,
no idea. I mean, I've seen the map, but
yeah, so it is, do you know where New York City is? Like New
yeah,
York City.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
on that side. I'm like the
Right.
state below it, all the way
Oh,
over.
oh, okay, okay. Because California is on the other side, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
New York. Okay, yes. Okay, so my landmark would be New York in California. That's it.
Yeah, that's why I use New York. So if you kind of just trickle down and over, you're good.
All right. Okay, shall we start?
Yeah.
are you good to start? Okay, perfect. Hi, Sydney. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for that podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again. Juxtaposition of your very soul. First off, I'd like to say thank you very much for agreeing to be on my podcast and for us to discuss and explore some of the experiences that you had before and how this could relate back to the essence of my podcast. And this, I think this will wrap the whole thing up because when I was reading your profile, I was amazed. I'm like, okay, definitely. I've got to get her on. So thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, as soon as I saw like what your mission was, I got really excited because I really feel like these types of conversations are needed and getting deeper into our soul and our being and just kind of having the conversations that I think we've all been afraid to have for so long, but it's so
Right.
needed now, Like
Yes.
I can't even have like regular basic conversations anymore.
Yeah, people. I had one guest coming on, and it was like, I just by the look of your the title of your podcast, I know you enjoy deep conversations. I'm like, yeah, I do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I think I'm just gonna read a bit of introduction uh, about yourself to our listeners today.
Okay.
So I'm taking this off from Podmatch. So I hope you don't
Yeah,
mind.
yeah.
So, hi guys, we have Sydney Decker here. She's a brilliant and passionate Ayurveda health counselor, intuitive healer, and also a light worker. Sydney's journey into the world of Ayurveda and intuitive healing began early in life when she realized her innate ability to perceive and assist others in their healing processes. As an accomplished Ayurveda health counselor, Sydney expertly combines the ancient wisdom of that practice with her intuitive healing gifts. She offers solutions that address only physical well-being, not only physical well-being, but also emotional, mental, and spiritual balance. So, Sydney, what was it like growing up as Sydney Decker?
Gosh, this is such a loaded question. But it's a perfect question because I've been thinking a lot about that actually. And I was thinking about that today of so when I was growing up, I just remember being so sensitive and not in like a cry all the time way, but just like noticing things. Like I would just notice and feel everything. And I remember even saying to my she's my great aunt, but my aunt the one time of like I was sitting and I was like I could almost see like the specks that create our vision when I was a kid. Did you do that? Have
No,
you
I
done
don't
that?
know. It's like that dust, right?
Yes.
Like it's under a microscope, but it's like
Yes.
just flying everywhere. Oh my god! Yes, I
Yes.
have it too.
Okay, cool. Okay, good. So I was like sitting there one day and I was like, "What's all this stuff?" And she was
Yeah,
like, "What stuff?" She's like, "I don't see
yeah.
it." And I
No,
was
never.
like, "Yes." And I was like, "Well, I see it. I see it everywhere." I'm like, "There's all this stuff. Like, how do you not see it?" And she was like, "There's nothing there." And I just kind of like learned that like maybe I can see things that other people can't. And I was like, I could see and feel things, and I was always being told like you're wrong. Like you're being too sensitive, you're being too dramatic, you're not seeing what you're seeing, you're not picking up what you're picking up. And so that part was a little like off and hard for me but I think it was part of my path and my mission to help myself understand and trust my own self, rather than constantly needing the external world to validate me. So growing up as me, I felt I was always very magical. I was very loving. I tried to teach her my own language. I'd grab her face and I would try to teach her my language.
Oh.
And like I would write all these like spells, and I was always like doing stuff with animals, or like I had imaginary friends. I was just like very like internally like imaginative and creative. I was writing books and doing different things and just very loving. Like I just loved everything and everyone. And then I think I want to say around like between 7 and 9, things got really difficult for me because I was growing up in a household with a father who struggled with alcoholism. And I was very attuned to him. I was very, very attuned to him. Honestly, he was like when I was born who held me first. So I like was very attuned to my dad.
Wow.
And I started to get like darker at like 9. I remember just kind of like closing down a little bit and just getting a little bit darker, and then it really set in around like 13. I got super dark. I was depressed. I started like hurting myself, cutting myself. Just wasn't in like slowed down in like how I want to say showed up in the world. Like I used to be so like giving and loving, and then I just closed and I
Yes.
was like hard to be around. No one wanted to be around me. And I think that for me was the beginning of understanding
Mm.
what I was going to be doing, because that period from like 13 until my dad died when I was 20 was probably like the darkest time of my life, and become more conscious of my spiritual gifts again. And I became more conscious of like the love and the care and like how I can help myself, and like basically like woke up to my soul, right? Like I just kind of like woke up to the fact of there's just so much more going on here, and it woke me up out of my darkness in a way. So I would say I grew up when I was first was born, I was super light, just light filled. Then I got really, really dark. I tried to take myself out of this world a few times.
Oh.
Um, but then when my father actually did take his own life, that's when everything kind of changed for me again, and it's become a journey of finding my light and getting back to that source within me, so that way I can help other people, because he showed me what that darkness can do if it's not dealt with properly, I guess, is what I would say. Because there, you can heal and you can overcome things. It's just being willing to do that, And some people, I think, they don't know that it's possible. So that's why I'm going out there and I'm like talking and I'm going on podcasts and I'm helping people, because I want to let people know that it doesn't matter how dark it's been, that
Yeah.
you can get through it and you can get out of it. And it's going to take a little bit of work, but
Yeah.
I'm trying to be that
No, I
byproduct.
think you're undermining it. It's not a bit of work, Sydney.
I know it's a lot.
It's
It's a lot.
difficult, but okay, let's caveat
Yes.
it. It's a bit of work, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, I don't want to like overwhelm anyone right away.
I mean, I'm speaking from experience as well. It's yeah, it's tough, but yeah, we'll
Well,
okay.
I'm curious to see about you. How long have you been on this path?
Podcasting? Oh, you mean the spiritual?
The
I
spiritual
would
path.
say spiritual. Okay, so well, this became a two-way thing. Okay, yeah, I'm. Oh, because you're a podcast host as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, for
I'm
me,
just curious because you're just like, we're similar. There's something there. So I just want to know.
yeah. Okay, so I think I would want to start with that speck of dust thing. Like, I don't know if you're experiencing the same thing, but when you like stare into an empty space or just anything, you can see those things moving around, right? That's the same thing? And then I have never actually told you. I mean, might have made some remarks to my sister, but she was very young at the time, and she wouldn't don't think she said, no, I see it too. But it's okay. So that's number one. I think that I felt something is different about me. And then and number two, somehow I don't know. Whenever I see like a a sad ending in a movie where, especially there's separation or anything or death, I'd somehow be very affected by it. And I would actually put myself in the character's shoes and
Mm-hmm.
like really try to live it. Like I think, and I even said to myself, I think subconsciously, I'd say somehow I would have to undergo that kind of thing when I grow up. But I don't know if that's like a spell, like me creating that reality. Because okay, what happened was so I, especially during romantic movies, right? Say there's a divorce or there's a death. So true enough, I don't know, but I don't know if I don't know if I want to say I manifested it, but I did get through a divorce.
Yeah.
Gosh, and that was the beginning of everything, I would say. So I think until 12, no, let me see, 17, I've always wanted to leave home because I did not feel attuned with my surrounding. Don't get me wrong, my
Mm-hmm.
parents were very loving, but I somehow said to myself, I have to get away from this environment because I need to find myself. I don't know what I was finding, but it's just that I have to live on my own. Okay. But
Mm-hmm.
also there's also another side to it. Like, okay, I want to live. What does it feel like to live in the city? So I come from the east side of Malaysia, so that's like
Is that like more the country?
yeah, you
We
can
have like
say that.
parallel lives because I grew up in the country, like we're in my country, like country, like 500 acres of land. And then I had to get
Distance
away. I
bushes,
love my
distance with
family.
forest, nature city.
Yes,
I mean, my
forest, nature,
yes,
all those things.
yeah,
And then I went to the city. Now I'm in the city and I'm living in the city. And it's not like same thing. It's not like I had to get away from my horrible family. It's just
yes,
that was too small of an environment. I needed to expose myself to other things.
correct, correct.
Yeah, so funny.
And
I
then
told
okay,
you we have this like thing.
yeah, and then nine. Okay, so okay, I start 19 to. I told myself, okay, 19 to 30. This is it. I'm gonna make my mark in the world. I'm gonna. I'm gonna be somebody, and then I don't know, find somebody and settle down by 30. And I thought at the time life would end at 30. And
Right.
true enough, again, 19 to 30, I had gone through. Well, I was my main focus was my job, my career. So I got okay. I set a goal. I want this material things. Okay, fine. I got it. Well, at some cost, big cost, and then in terms of relationship, been in two, had some here or there, but then the second one, the one when I said, okay, I asked for like a sign, please show me somebody. I want you to settle down. So yeah, okay, well there was this somebody, but at the time I thought it was like, okay, that's it. I asked and then it's delivered, so this must be it. Oh, so
Hmm.
by by 30, just before hitting 30, 29, I got the thing that I wanted, and I got married and I got divorced. And then when I hit 30, I don't know what next. So it's like I lost myself. So that actually started my own. That's how I started that journey. 2020 and now 2023. To be honest, this year is the I would say the year that I have just started to stand up again and really be confident speaking out. And that's why I started the podcast.
I love that. That's amazing. There's a lot I could learn from you too.
No, but there's a lot I'm learning from you too right now. So okay, I'm gonna ask you. Okay, so you were saying you shared your story about growing up. So can you tell us more about the journey that you mentioned about depression and suicide? I know we touched a bit, but maybe
Yeah.
we can dive deeper.
So, growing up with my depression set in, I want to say shortly after I started my menstrual cycle, before I didn't really correlate it at that time, but um now, knowing what I know and like studying Ayurveda and just learning more about how things work and how the
And
woman
that's
body
amazing.
works and
Yeah.
all, yeah. So it really set in when I did, because that's also when like your womb space gets really activated as a woman too, and it just like so many different things change. And so it came on around 13. I think it was kind of building for some time. And uh, so I share this briefly on like, I'm not going to go deep, 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 deep into it. But I share it briefly on like my podcast. Looking back on it now, I also believe that I took on some of my dad's depression,
Mm.
because like I said, I was so plugged into him and I was so sensitive, and I'm an empath. I don't know if you know anything about empaths. I'm a highly sensitive person, and I also am, if you've ever learned about the human design, I'm a projector. So human design is like
I'm a
something really cool to look
manifesting
into.
generator, I think.
Oh, you do? Okay, you,
Yeah, yeah, manifesting
yeah.
generator. Yeah, I did that
Oh,
program.
that's great. Like that's cool to have both of those, because you can manifest and generate, so you have like you can feel yourself. As a projector, I can just plug into people. So I don't have my own center. Like I actually kind of have to create that in order to know who I am, because you put me anywhere and I can just feel into everything that's going on. It's like I almost have to like fight my instinct to give in to the environment. If you know what I'm saying, like I have
Yeah.
to create this constant boundary, because like I'm just so plugged in that if that person, like say a person that I know and I'm hanging out with wants, I'm just creating it, I don't know, wants hot dogs
Yeah.
and I want ice cream.
You'd
I
say,
have I would say hot dogs because I would feel that, even though I'd want to say ice cream, I would have to like really like push myself to speak up and say like I don't want hot dogs, but I would naturally just go in the direction of hot dogs because that's what that person is, and I would even think of hot dog even though I don't want hot dog. I want
mm,
ice cream because in the
yeah,
back of my mind there's ice cream. So
yeah.
it's like hard to explain that, but so at a certain point, around like age 9, I remember actually saying to the universe, like my dad was just struggling so much and he was just in a really dark place, that I said, like, give me some of his darkness. So I started to kind of like take on some of his stuff.
No, I
Yeah, it was
I
not
had a
good.
similar conversation. Yes, like
With
anything
like
that
someone in your family,
I mean,
or just
that's
men
my
in general. No, I'm just
that,
kidding.
no, 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 no. I mean, in terms of like any burdens or any, especially sickness, I said I'll take it. Let
Yeah,
that be my salvation.
yeah, yeah, basically. Yep, I know. So I took that on, and that kind of like added to my depression. So 13 to honestly until my dad took his own life, I was not good. I just was very depressed. I hated myself. And I don't even mean like didn't like myself. I mean like hated myself. My inner dialogue to myself was like I would be embarrassed if anyone even heard it to this day. Like dark, intrusive, just I thought I was hideous, ugly, like I should die. Like every day I woke up, just couldn't, some
No,
days I
you
couldn't
have
even
to
get out
know
of bed.
something. You have to know something. When I was looking at your profile, my first word to your profile was, "You are so pretty, Sydney."
Oh
You
my
know, you
gosh,
felt that.
thank you. Yes, thank you so much for
Yeah.
saying that. Yeah, it's like it's been a journey, because but I think I was just feeling the energy. You know what I mean? I couldn't even see myself clearly because I didn't feel good. I just was like this, I feel like I was taking on all the world stuff, and I got into my first like real relationship was also abusive, and it was also the person that I like lost my virginity to, which I started to learn a lot about how men and women interact, and it's like for men they don't take on as much, but women take on all of their energy and we
Oh
store it.
God, yes.
So I think some of it I stored from him because he didn't really like himself either. I'm not trying to blame anyone, I'm just saying like I
Yeah.
just was taking on and I didn't know who I was, so I just was
Mm.
constantly asking for validation from the external world, validation from men particularly, and boys, because that's what I was taught is like the saving grace, the all be all knows all type of thing. Especially in my family, men are very like on top, like the
Hierarchical.
hierarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I just realized, and like in high school and stuff, I could barely go to school. I had agoraphobia. I couldn't leave my house. I would have anxiety attacks. I had to have a teacher come and teach me. I would have like I would pass out. I was hospitalized for like 2 weeks for having a plan and trying to take my own life. And then in college, it got really bad. I ended up, I was just going through a lot of stuff. Like I said, I had a lot of my self-worth tied up with boys. And at the time, I was dating, I don't even know if it would be dating at that point, but I had this high school boyfriend, and me and him were at different colleges. And I found out that he was dating me and another girl at the same time. And it just got really, really intense. And so I tried to take my own life again. And it was in the second time of trying to take my own life that I was brought to myself. And by no means am I saying that this is a way to do it. It was just like, I think the universe was like really trying to step in, because it wasn't the first time, it was
Yeah.
the second time. It was like, okay, we gotta get her to wake up a bit. So
Yeah.
at that time, I had a vision of this counselor, and it was a male counselor, which is so funny too, because I was having all these difficulties with men, and he was the most kind, caring, loving, nice counselor, but he didn't exist. He wasn't real. So he and me were sitting there, and we were having this
The
conversation. I had
projection of your mind.
it was I was passed out because I had I'm not going to say how I like did or anything, but I was in the hospital basically sleeping when all this
Right.
was happening. But I only remember the dream. I don't remember how I got there. I don't remember any of the things. I just remember this dream. And me and him were talking about my life and just going deep into my life, and like making
I
these
have
connections and
goosebumps.
yeah, like, and laughing and like looking at things. And he was like pointing things out to me, like of why like how the bad could be good, and to like all these things. And it was just really eye-opening. And I remember saying to him in my dream at one point, like, oh my god, I want to live, like, thank you so much for coming to talk to me, like, I want to live, like, I'm ready to try again. And he was like, okay, great, I'm gonna go get you water, like, I'll be right back. So he steps out, I wake up, so then I'm actually in my hospital bed, and my mom's sitting there, and I look over at her, and I'm like, where'd the guy go? And my mom's like, what
There goes.
guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, the guy that was talking to me for hours, he said, like, he was going to bring me water. She's like, there's been no guy. I've been the only one here for hours. And then I obviously, like, passed back out, and then it took me a while to recover, like a week or so. But yeah, it was just, like, really intense, and I just remember that vision. That's the only thing that sticks with me throughout the whole entire thing. Like, just what he was saying, the feelings that he gave to me, and then afterwards I got out, and I started to noticed like my consciousness was different. Like I was noticing, trying to look for the good. I got brought to this book called The Magic. I tell everyone on every single podcast. It's called The Magic by Rhonda Bryn. It's a 28
Okay.
day journey about gratitude. So it was the
Okay.
first thing I did that after I got out of the hospital was I went on this 28-day journey of gratitude. And it changed my whole life. Like it just changed my perspective. Like I will say that was the turning point for me if I trace it back. And I just started to heal, and I started to get better, and I started to feel better. And I mean, it was still a long time coming because my dad was still alive at that time. So he died like a year later. And so that kind of set me even deeper. But I think I needed that to get me strong enough to
To get
handle
you, yeah.
when
To
he
prep
did. So
you.
that, yeah,
Mhm.
basically.
Mm.
So that's kind of like my dark depression. So I climbed out of it, and then my dad died, and then it just kind of took me into grief. You know what I mean? I was no longer
Grief,
deeply
yeah.
depressed by my own stuff. It was just grief that I had to process his loss, and also how he died. And I know his struggle, you know, because I've been there too, like with the not wanting to be here and all that stuff. So it just was very interesting how the universe prepared me for being able to handle the deeper part of my journey that I needed.
I think it's just like it's so funny that I'm here and you're there. I mean, our circumstances are different, but still the learnings are all the learnings and the journey are somehow trying to steer us to that direction.
Yeah. I know. I would love to like see what you are like your journey and stuff. It just yeah, 'cause we do. We have like a similar thing. And honestly, this is the first day I've worn my glasses in a long time. I had no idea. I was like, I'm just gonna wear my glasses today just to see if I like them.
We're
And there you
tuning,
are.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
we
so
are. We're twinning.
yeah, we're tuning. So okay, this is one question. Okay, it's yeah, one of the questions that I take myself. So negative self talk can significantly impact self worth, definitely. So now we're moving into some of the advice. Of course, we're going to come back into this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are the strategies that individuals can use to challenge and change this destructive patterns?
Yeah. So that's a really good question. For me, I would like to say that it's really good to recognize and understand where that started, where that voice started, and is it your voice? Is this my voice, or is this something that I've been told or heard or watched on TV or witnessed in the world? So a
Yeah.
lot of the world, like this is actually something I was just thinking the other day when I was on a walk. The world hates itself, the world that we live in. So like we're all drops in an ocean and we're all swimming in a toxic ocean of hate. Like the world doesn't like itself. So a lot of times we have to check in with our own self. We have to check in and ask ourselves, okay, what is the world's feelings about this and what is my personal feeling about this? Because a lot of the worthlessness that we feel
Mm-hmm.
is our interaction with society, with our culture, with our
Yeah.
family, with our friends, with what it is. Like if I was born into a world in which being bald was like the highest thing, I would want to be bald, right? But
Yeah.
I'm born into a world where if you bald early, you might as well just go lay down in a cemetery. Like you're done. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like there's not a lot of room to be who you are, is what I'm trying to say. There's not a lot of room to have imperfections or to make mistakes. And that's where I started to realize, okay, a lot of the messages that I was getting, like I said, my self-talk was like, why are you even here? Like, why are you breathing? So I had to start to like look at what is mine and what isn't. And so, like I said, when I first started, I was just loving all the time. I just felt love for the world, for everything, and it just started to diminish more and more and more the longer I was here living on the planet, weirdly.
Yeah.
And then I actually started to see too, like, as a woman, I think the self worth, I think there's different journeys with men and women about it. So I can't speak because I'm not a man, so I'm not going to go there. But I do know that the woman journey is we're basically worthless, anyways, in a lot of ways. Like based on like culture or programming or just being a woman is like you have to do all these things but the man holds the power, basically, is what I'm saying. So if we want to do anything, we go to the man for the power or permission to be who
But
we are or to tell
but like,
us,
I mean, if you go back, that's the thing. I used to think that way too, but then I go back to, I don't know if you've heard of this or you read of this thing. It's that when what you give a woman, she'll amplify. If
yes.
only, yeah, if only you know the power. If only a woman knows her power. I think, and ancient civilization actually, I would say, I like. Okay, I started reading about history, like also a part of the spiritual thing.
Yeah.
Ancient Egypt, women are worshipped, and
Mm-hmm.
we are considered as the warrior, and we have a place in society. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's the, I would say, is it propaganda that, of course, this is all human construct or made to feel that okay, there must be control, and therefore, man is somehow, this is how it's came about. It's now like this, and
Mm-hmm.
I think, in my opinion, um, we are still in that. Of course, again, I come back to being in a simulation and all those things. But I think the world is waking up a bit at this point. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't, the world has been here for about universe 13.8 billion years.
Mm-hmm.
We are just like this, like 80 years, 100 years, and then we're gonna go, or maybe a
We've been
100 years.
around, the human being where we're at is only 300,000 years. 300,000
Ah,
in
yeah, you see,
years.
human beings, yeah, years,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
300,000 versus 13.8 billion. There's a lot that could have happened. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, sorry, coming back to what you were saying, like, yeah, somehow it's made to understand that men is there. It's not just, yeah. As opposed to, men are supposed to be given that kind of importance, because I mean, in Islam, and we'll touch a bit about that, because you're supposed to take care of the women, not to oppress them.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, it's all upside down now. It's abuse. So yeah,
Yes.
that's just
Yeah.
my intermission.
No, that's good because I agree. Like I've done a lot of research on the matriarchy and how women in different time periods have definitely been worshipped and loved and have been the medicine woman of the village or the town, has been the high priestess in so many
Yes.
ways in Egypt and was seen as this oracle, right?
Yeah.
Coming from where I live in America, that's not the case in America. The man rules and rules with I like Iron
Force.
Fist came to my mind.
Mm.
Just rule doesn't have a lot of compassion
Mm.
is basically like they see that they are the provider of they provide a structure where you live in it and that's congratulations you get to live in my structure
Yeah, you get to, yeah, yeah. Be
where
grateful that I take you in and live under
yes
this
yeah
shelter. Okay. Mm.
where that's where a lot of the negative self-talk for me came from. It was, and even to this day, like there's just this toxicity in how men and women show up with each other. So I mean that could go into, but I want to answer your question.
Let's
um
go. Yeah.
yeah. So basically like you just got to look at how you where you're at in the world, right? So like look at what your ancestral lineage is, look at culturally societal, take out those three layers because and see what the voice is in the stories that you've been told about from those areas. Like what has your mom told you? Because maybe your mom grew up being very poor and just always struggling, and so she's worried because she doesn't want you to struggle, but she
Yeah.
unconsciously puts that on you, so you think, oh, I'm worthless in some way because my mom's struggle and I need to be better than or whatever, and it kind of puts this pressure, and so some things kind of get passed down, in that type of structure. So if you start to like look at the ways in which the programming and the stories that you get told,
Yeah.
then you can also start to see like, okay, well, what's my voice now? So you can start to hear the voices around you and start to kind of recognize, okay, well, what's mine? And so that's where it started to work with me. And then I did start to hear like my voice, and it wasn't the nicest to me, but I could see why. And that's what helped me to kind of make that shift and that break in that old voice,
Like,
because I started to recognize like, okay, my dad struggled a lot. I kind of took that on. I took on how my mom created her coping mechanisms and her defense mechanisms. I had to protect myself a lot because I used to hear voices in my head of like, you're stupid and you're ugly and you're this, but I grew up with a brother. You know what I mean? Like some of that was just
okay.
him being an annoying brother, right? And just
Yeah.
doing those things. But that I was so sensitive that I took that and I was like, okay, well, he's older, he
I
must know.
he say these things to me or whoever, that must be true. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we can't see outside of ourselves. So we take the external world as God and as our validation because we can only see through. So when someone outside of us says, like, oh, you look like this or you're coming across this way, it's like, well, I don't know. So I
Yeah.
must be.
Yeah.
So then I started to realize, the external world doesn't know me. The
That's
external
true.
world only knows what I'm saying. It doesn't know
Yeah.
what I'm feeling. It doesn't know. And how many times have I lied? How many times have I told someone, like, oh, wow, or like this or that, and I didn't mean that? Or how many times did I want to say something that I didn't say something? Because I didn't, because my feelings and I was afraid. I was like, I started to kind of recognize that there's so much more going on inside of me that how can anyone know who I am and tell me who I am? And
And
when
how
I
can
tried
people
to
use you based on what they only see externally, what they hear externally?
exactly. So that detachment for me is what allowed me to start to create a new, softer voice. And not only that, but going back into my working with my inner child. And so
Mm.
if you're someone who hasn't sat with your inner child, a lot of that self-worth stuff is coming from them. and what they didn't get and what they need. So if you start to look and work with them, that inner part of you, that inner child, the voice just naturally starts to shift. So the more that I sat with my inner child and I felt her feelings, the kinder my self-talk got. The more that I let her express her feelings, the more compassionate my self-talk got. So now I'm at a place where sometimes I'll get the intrusive thoughts because I think that's part of just my ancestrally. Like, it can get kind of passed down and stuff. So I
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
notice that. And also my patterning. So for so long, that was my escape route. Like, you don't feel good today, let's not be here. Someone hurt your feelings, let's not be here. It was like I had an extreme. It was 0 or 100. It wasn't let's go lay down. It was let's take you out of this world. Like, so that is less. So now when that comes in, I can say to myself, I love you for trying to protect me, because now I recognize that that's myself. Like, oh, something bad happened to you, well, we'll take you right out, don't even worry
Yeah.
about it, we
Yeah, yeah,
got you,
yeah, yeah,
like, we'll
yeah.
take you right out.
Exactly. Yeah,
So I
yeah.
started to
You wanna
see that
leave?
it was
Let's
actually,
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was protection. And then I started to see that even the negative can be switched to positive. So when that comes in, I've named it. So I'm
Oh.
like, okay, Bert, buddy, it's gonna be okay, we're gonna stay, we're gonna try. I appreciate your offer, but I'm just gonna try to stick this out. I love you. And now that's my self-talk. It's like, I love you,
Right.
it's okay. So it shifts, but I had to sit with a lot of my old feelings. I had to really kind of like take like an audit of what I've been told throughout my life, what I'm going to keep, because
Yeah.
some of it kind of pushes you. Like, so
Yeah.
sometimes I needed to hear certain things about myself, right? In order
Yeah.
to grow.
Yes.
So some
Yes.
of the criticism I took as, you're right, I need to outgrow this, or I need to shift this or change this, but I didn't take it as in it's me, it's my
Mm-hmm.
authority. It's just,
Mm.
yeah, I see that about myself. So yeah, I don't love it. So I'll work with this. So I think, to like answer your question, is just to start to get it out too. Like, look at what the voice is, write it all out. That's a big thing that helped me, is like journal it, give it time to talk so that way you can see, and then you can take audit, because you can see the words in front of you of what's true,
Mm.
what have I been told, what is
Mm.
just society, am I
Mm.
a man or a woman, and what have I been told about just that role in general,
Yeah.
and then what's my truth. So it's work,
It's work.
but
Yeah.
you gotta like look at it, because a lot of times if we have these thoughts and we're trying to like just let it go, it just goes to the back of the line, and then it waits its
Yeah.
turn to come to the front of the line again. You
Yeah.
gotta like get it out, you gotta like really take a look at it.
Yeah. And most of the time, people don't want to look at it because they just can't bear to face the truth. And that
Yes.
comes to being authentic. I don't know. What are your
Yep.
thoughts about people being authentic these days? Like, do you think they are being authentic, or they're not? They're just living in a facade still.
um I
I
I
mean, I can't
think
speak for the world, but just as what you observe. I'm sure you're a
honestly for
millennial, right?
me,
Are you a millennial, or are you a Gen Z?
I'm a millennial.
Okay. Okay.
um so for me, I see a big divide.
Mm.
I
Yeah.
see that the world is going in two different directions, and there are those who are choosing to understand their authenticity and become their authentic self and share their voice. Like, for example, you starting this podcast.
And
And I
you too.
think more and more, yeah, and I think more and more people waking up and just going in that direction and just doing that, or being more authentic. But two, I do see that there is still a hold on the old, on the fake.
Mm.
Because, for
Yeah.
example, if we look at, and I'm just saying this because they're the biggest ones that come to mind, and that most people in the world know them, like the Kardashians, they're still clinging on. But they've created their whole kingdom
Yeah.
on being fake.
Mm.
So, how are they going to shift that into authenticity is interesting to me, right? Because the world's shifting into authenticity, and in general. Like, we're all just kind of moving more in that
Yeah.
direction.
Yeah.
But there is still a divide, and there still is a clinging to the old, because the old fake world is what still holds power to me.
Mm.
So it's interesting. A lot of people in my life that I know personally are really stepping into their authentic self. But when I see the old structures, like when I turn on the news, I can see that it's still very much trying to keep us from that.
Yeah. I don't read the news for so many years
Oh,
now.
I don't either. But when I do, it's all don't be your true self and be afraid and
Exactly.
that type of stuff.
It's it's sad, but I'm also hopeful. I mean, if
Oh, yeah.
like yeah, I it does balance, polarity, duality. So I times when I feel like, ah, what's happening with the world? I mean, you can have days like, okay, go, I'm good, I'm feeling good, I'm coming from a place of love. There are days when you're just like, that you can't deny there will be days that you doubt
Oh, for sure.
if what you're doing is gonna amount to something at the end of the day. But that faith, I think that is what's gonna carry you through it, I think. And yeah, I think every day I try to wake up and just have um that flicker, like, to start my engine. Okay, like I before, when I would say not being authentic yet, I it's like a force. Okay, you gotta wake up because you need to get this, and
Mm-hmm.
that took a that it was bad. Like, I had to experience burnout. I had to experience everything under the sun because my journey was, yeah, divorce, and then I threw myself to work, and I
Mm-hmm.
thought work is gonna save me from facing that grief and face sitting with myself and process whatever that happened. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
the universe said no, 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 and especially it was COVID. I had no choice. I cannot travel, so I had to sit with myself in my own apartment. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I looked into tarot. I looked into
Okay.
astrology. I looked
Yeah.
into astronomy. I looked into physics. I looked into quantum, you name it, ain't that Egypt or whatever, like the things that I never knew I would touch before. Like these things were not important to me. I said, this is not important to me. Oh, I needed to get somewhere. Like I needed to be somebody in society. This is just, it's there. Okay, it's good. But then I need to be it. And that was like, I think universe humbled me big
Oh,
time.
it does that. It does that big time.
And oh my god, and to face the universe back and said, okay, I'm really, really sorry. I thought that I'm bigger than you.
Yep.
You're actually, yeah, I'm sorry. So let's start. So yeah, I
I
thought
know,
I
I've
was,
been there.
yeah, I was dialoguing with the
It's
universe,
like an ant trying to have a fist fight with you, right?
yes,
It's
yes,
like that's you to the universe. It's like the
yes,
ants trying to like fight you, and you're just like, buddy, you're just
yeah,
crawling everywhere. What are you doing?
exactly. Oh gosh. So okay, let's move into Ayurveda,
Okay.
because why I wanted to touch about this, and I think it's a miracle that you're an Ayurvedic practitioner, because my brother-in-law, he's been diagnosed with lymphoma. So this is something that
So
I
sorry.
think no, thank you. Um, we're trying to try this type of, I wouldn't say medication, but practice. So can you tell us, like, can you share, like, what is Ayurveda exactly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ayurveda is basically one of the very first healthcare systems to be practiced by human beings. Like it's hard to kind of
Really?
like say that, but it is. So Ayurveda translates to the science of life. So it's the science of how nature works and how we are a part of that nature. So it's a science of everything and how everything comes together. And basically it looks at the human body, but also nature in general from the five elements air, space, fire, water, and earth, and how these elements combine to create our reality and also our physical body. And so when you look at it through the Ayurveda perspective, like I like to use, for example, an ice cube. So the ice cube creates all the elements. So when it first happens, it's just ether. It's just
Mm-hmm.
space, right? And then you
Mm-hmm.
start to get the little droplets. Then the droplets start to combine. Then that's actually through a heat process, like that moistness in the air is actually
Right.
created by that humidity. Basically, humidity creates that, captures it. Then those molecules start to get together. That's the earth, and then they bind themselves and they create the ice cube. Then
Yeah.
that's the ice cube. So you can see how manifestation happens, and then when the ice cube melts and it goes back. So that's that's
Oh
that's
gosh.
Ayurveda. That's basically
I think you can
Ayurveda.
lock two things here. Ayurveda and manifesting. Oh
Yes.
my god,
Yeah.
that's
Because it's all
simplest
connected.
way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
so that's kind of like the easiest way to like when you think of like, okay, well, how did we form how the elements and whatever? Like that, like we're just ice cubes that don't melt. Literally because we're made out of water as well. So like we're
Yeah.
just and sometimes we do melt. We sweat and different things. But so we're basically like if you look at it like that. And Ayurveda uses nature to heal nature. So it uses quality over quantity. So it's the quality of the food that we eat. It's the quality of the environment. It's the quality of our relationships. It's the quality of our life that matters more than what you're eating,
Banging
like
your
how
hat.
much you're eating,
Yeah.
or how little you're eating, like that type of stuff. Yeah, exactly. So it just gave me permission to be me. And not only does it factor in just like the physical, it factors in consciousness. And so the more that I learned about Ayurveda, the more I learned about myself and the more I learned about my consciousness and then the more I learned about the consciousness of the world and how we're all a part of that consciousness and that we're all playing telephone constantly. And I just like sometimes it goes in one ear and out the other, but we're all connected in our
Yeah.
brains, in our overall consciousness. So that
Yeah.
was really cool and that helped me. And then I started to practice Ayurveda. So I started to do the physical oils, like using the oils because Ayurveda is big on oil. It's big
Mm-hmm.
on, like I said, quality. And also,
Right.
it's big on emotional health. It's big on mental and emotional health and how we talk to ourselves and the beliefs that we have and the emotions that we carry. And it's big on like cleansing out those pieces, like those emotional pieces too, because everything starts in the ether. So, like I said,
Mm-hmm.
when you think is our emotion, the physical is our body.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that happen starts first as an emotion and then we take that emotion and then we create a story and then we create something out of that and then that gets stored in our body. So for example, people that have heart attacks, they're just so closed off to their heart. Like their heart is actually attacking them. You know what I'm saying? Like their
Yeah.
own love, their own self-hatred, it's just certain emotions. And so also if you look at too, a lot of the world issues are taking place with for women it's a lot of like ovarian cancer and breast cancer
Yeah.
and for men
Yeah.
it's a lot of prostate cancer
Yeah.
because we are not living in an alignment with our authentic masculine and authentic feminine so
Feminine.
that women hate their bodies because we're told to hate our bodies.
We have to
Men
be
hate their
specific size, curve.
yep
Yeah.
yep and men are taught to even in a weird way they too are victims of the world that we live in the patriarchal system so they hate their masculinity because it's not true masculinity so it starts to attack their masculinity like
Yeah.
later on that's so you start to kind of look at dis-ease as dis-ease
This
you
is
know
yes.
you start to
Yes.
look at like what is causing this and the more that I started to look at my issues. So whenever something happens, besides like if I like got a bruise because I like hit my knee on the door, even then I'm kind of like, I wonder why I hit my knee on the door. But usually it's like if I like just for example in August I had a frozen shoulder. Like I could barely work, like it just was so bad. It's frozen tears. I looked it up. The emotional meeting means like I was feeling
Yeah.
burdened. I
Right.
was not processing my own feelings. I felt like I was carrying the world on my shoulder, like all these things. So I sat and I forced myself to cry, not like in a like mean way, but just like sat with it. And I was like, okay, what's going on here? Like, why am I feeling like I'm carrying the weight of the world? All these things. I cried. I went and got a massage, and it's gone. Like I'm not just like saying that. It's so to me especially with this because this was an experiment I didn't do a lot of like stuff to it I wanted to try to like see what it was teaching me
Yeah.
And like I said, and now it's gone. So now I mean, I still go get massages because it's just good to keep up with like self care.
Yeah.
But that is like kind of also what Ayurveda taught me. And then Ayurveda is what brought me out of my depression because it started to give me the power to heal myself. I no longer needed to take medication. I had I was putting oils on my body. I was doing sacred self care. It's called self abhyanga, which is self oil massage. That it's a big thing in Ayurveda for health. I was doing. I used to get like sinus infections and ear infections all the time, and I was doing those drops. And so since 2016, I've not had a ear infection. So
Wow.
it's just like, and even during like the whole COVID, I didn't get sick. Like I just was super healthy because I put oil on my body every single day. Like there's not been for the last since 2016. There's not a day that I literally miss. It's either it may not be my whole body, but it's definitely like my arms or my legs, like or my belly. Like there's oil that goes on my body every single day.
And you do this by yourself?
Yeah.
They teach you that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So the self abhyanga is like easier. And then I do body work for people too. So people will come to me and then I do the oil massage with the herbs and then we figure out like what your mind body type is. So that's a big thing for Ayurveda is to learn what your mind body type is and how they correlate and what relationship they have. And a lot of times it's based on the elements. So for example, I can only use myself. I am a pitta kapha. So in the elements, my
How,
mind body type is mostly fire, water, and earth.
how,
So
how, how can I find out about this? Online? Or do I
yeah,
need
you
to
can take
be?
like a quiz. It's best to meet with an actual practitioner because the practitioner will do a pulse analysis. Because a lot
Right.
of people who take the quizzes tend to come from their current imbalanced state. So we're all born with a blueprint of health. So when we're born, actually at conception, this
Yeah.
blueprint is created. Then we're
Yeah.
born. So that never usually changes. So usually like you're born with a like for me, I was born with a certain type of
Oh
mind
my
body
gosh,
type.
I'm so sorry, my cat.
No, no worries. I'm surprised that they're leaving me alone, but they're usually around here.
So cute.
Um, Honestly, the other day I was doing a podcast interview and my cat literally spilled water all over me and I had to pretend that it didn't happen. It was crazy.
And
I
you
was
can
just
see like
like,
he was meowing, and I was like, oh shit, calm down. But
yeah,
yeah,
and then they don't listen either. They're not like dogs. Like
yeah.
they just kind of have their own thing. So like a practitioner will be able to do your pulse and then they'll be able to just go to that deep blueprint. Whereas a lot of times people, not to say that the online quizzes don't help, they do. It's definitely worth taking, but they'll usually kind of put you in your like imbalanced state. So I have a lot of clients who will come to me and be like, I know I'm a pitta or I know I'm a vata, and then we sit down and they're
And
actually
they're
like,
not, yeah.
yeah, it's their imbalanced state. So that's the only like thing that I would tell you is like it might just show what your imbalance is and not what your like real authentic blueprint is. But it's not too far off.
Okay. Ayurveda. I think I enjoy getting massages too, but it's like not it's like relaxing oil, not like the Ayurveda. I really want to try that where they pour oil
Shirodara.
here. What's it called?
Yes. It's called Shirodara.
Yeah, that one. And yeah, I think I'm gonna be transported when I do that.
Oh, you do. It's like the first time I ever had it done, you like can't even control it. There's some people that don't even like it because it just puts you into this state of relaxation. If you're such like a type A, like kind of
Like
always
you're
on,
restless, yeah.
yeah, it's like hard for them to relax. But yeah, the first time I ever had it, it does. It just like feels there's not really anything to describe it besides it. Yeah, you'll
I'm
probably
gonna
really love it.
yeah, and sometimes before, I mean, right now I don't have headache that often, but if I do have that kind of head, I feel myself getting to feeling like I'm about to have a headache. Then okay, I'll just drop everything. There's something you're not doing right there. Drop everything and just I don't care if it's urgent for work. I'm just gonna yeah. So that's how I think that's how I've never gone into therapy in KL in Asia. We're not big enough, but I know it helps.
Mm-hmm,
Believe
mm-hmm.
it or not, I myself I am actually studying to become a therapist. So this is
Really?
yes,
That's
Yeah.
cool. I
It's
think you're gonna be good at it. Well, it's like being on the path and knowing, like when you come from that space and then you decide to help people with it. It's not like you just decided at 19 you're gonna go to school for this. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
yeah, so you're really gonna be good because you're doing it for you. You know what I mean? Like you're doing it in an authentic way, right?
Thank you. And my dad, like he's always big on education. He's always okay. So growing up, he's always said the conditioning that we had was like, okay, don't buy that. You don't have a lot of money. You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's the dialogue. Hush. That's the
I love him. He's like going crazy in the background
yeah,
too.
yeah. That's Mario.
Mario,
Uh,
love it.
Mario, yeah. There's no Luigi, but yeah, that's Mario. That takes up both Mario and Luigi. So, so in that's why until 17, I told myself like before that, growing up, whenever I wanted something, my mom was like, "No, you have to, you have to earn that. It's like either by grades or by anything, or you save it up, and that's why okay, you can buy it or that." And then I went to the extreme. I like had a pact with myself. Um, when I get my own money, when I earn my own money, nobody's gonna stop me from buying this. And that's also wrong because you are not controlled. You are again detached from yourself. It's all haywire. But then I pulled myself out of the environment again. Not again. Why? Because I wanted to try and live on my own. Just trying to find. So to be honest, 19 to 30, that was, I said to myself, okay, you can play, you can achieve, you can do. So to be, I think I'm only starting right now. It's like I'm back to, I wouldn't say I'm back to zero, but I definitely, maybe zero plus. A slightly
I feel
better
that.
version. Zero plus. And
Yes.
no, a little bit better.
But honestly, is that not what 19 to 30 is for? To be honest, like, I mean, I just turned 30 in June.
Okay.
So, looking back on my 20s, like, everyone seems like it's like the best time of your life. I did not know shit. Like, I knew nothing. I was trying to figure it out. Like, one, I was just trying to get my freedom, like you were saying, when you're a kid and you're caught up in the whole being told what to do, then you're finally out and you're just finally figuring yourself out, but then also trying to do it the way that they told you to do it too. It's weird. It's like this weird
Yeah.
layered thing where you're like, I'm independent, but I'm gonna do all the things that society tells me I should do, like have the money and the car and the friends
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
guy and the
Yeah. Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you realize when you're 29, none of that shit matters. None of that
Matters.
ever mattered. Who did I even date? I kind of wasted my time. I guess I learned a lot about myself through that, so that's fine and great, and I wish them well. And I lost some friends, made some friends. I had like 7 different jobs. I like learned what my purpose is. So cool. Now I can actually get started on my real life. When
Yeah.
so many people put
Yeah.
the 20s is like the best time of your life. It's the best time of your life to fuck up.
Fuck
I'm
up.
sorry. Yeah, but that's it. But in a good way. Like in
Yeah,
a
in a
way that
good
it's
way.
going to help you get. Because now, like, here you are, and you're 30, and I'm 30, and now I'm like, I can be serious.
Yeah.
Because, and I know who I am because I dated the wrong guys. I did the wrong things. I had different jobs. I grasped different things. And so now I feel like I'm actually entering womanhood. I feel like I wasn't then. I was still figuring it out.
Yeah. Oh god, I just look at the time. We're already talking for 1 hour and only ask you like 5 questions.
I
Oh,
know, because we're so in alignment. It's crazy.
I definitely want to invite you again, like when you have the time. Definitely to talk
Yeah,
more. Yeah. Okay.
definitely. I would love to. I know it is. The hour flew by.
Okay. So yes, this is something because we're talking about Ayurveda. So I want to ask, what are your thoughts about our healthcare system today? At least where you are from, which is the U.S. In the context of having a pill for every mild headache, tummy ache, etc.
Yeah.
What are your
So
thoughts on that?
for me, honestly, I found Ayurveda because the pill didn't work for me. Anytime I went to the doctor, I didn't feel seen or heard. I kind of felt like it was this, I
The
wasn't even there.
transaction.
Yeah, it was
Mm.
transactional, but also like they were treating the illness. They weren't helping me. They weren't talking to
Mm.
me. They were talking to the illness.
Right.
And the illness is just knowing what I know now is just a byproduct of what's going on with me. So I need someone to talk to me, not to talk to the byproduct. You know what I'm saying? Like I needed someone to get to me, and I felt that that pill is in the way of getting to me. Because also another thing that I thought to myself is, why did I get born onto this planet to have to take a pill to be mentally okay? That's freaking weird.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
weirdest thing ever.
that's
Like
right.
why, you know what I'm saying? Like to me it just kind of didn't make sense. So
So
I
it's like
just
we are
for
deformed, like we're not we're deformed since the day we were born, and we have to now rely on medication to function optimally or even
yeah,
get better. There must be
yep.
something more than this.
Exactly. Yeah, and a lot of my clients, they come in and they are taking six different
Six different.
medications, not but also six different supplements. So they're taking 12 to 15 pills a day
A
just to
day.
be like okay,
Wow.
and then they still aren't okay. They still don't feel good. You know what I mean? So I just started to look at that as I don't need a middleman to tell me if I'm okay or not. I'm going to figure that out because I have a human body and
Yes.
my mother grew me
Yeah.
in her womb. She wasn't, there was no one going into me when I was a baby feeding me pills to make sure I was
Yeah.
growing. I was
Exactly.
being grown inside of a human body by a human body. So that tells me that there's a lot more going on here and there's a lot more of an intelligence here than we even have any idea of. Did you grow my liver? No. My mother's
No.
womb space grew my liver as I was connected to it by the umbilical cord. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
go deep into stuff like that, but
Ah.
that's the truth. There was
Yes.
something in
Yes.
there that my fetus grew just by
That-
being given nourish. She was eating food.
Mhm.
She wasn't, you know what I mean? It's just like, it's the nutrients.
Yeah.
It's the cell. When you start to look at cellular health, the cellular
Mm.
health doesn't need a pill. You know what I mean? The cell just needs to be able to process and work the way that it needs to work. So, anyways, to answer your question, I think that it's just another instant gratification. I think that it's another way to bypass time to try to like get us to keep going and doing more. And I don't
Mm.
think that I think that it will help certain people because certain people are born with defects and certain people
Right.
are, and some people need the medication to get them to a place where they can even start to heal, and then the medication can be taken away. So by no means am I an idiot when
Mhm.
it comes to that type of stuff. And also I tell people too, like if I get into a car accident, don't take me to an Ayurveda health counselor. Take me to the
Yeah.
emergency room,
Yeah.
then let me go talk to the Ayurveda health
Recover.
counselor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I think too that the pill makes people lose the responsibility for their own health because it's like, oh, well, if I get sick, I'll
I
just
have.
take a
I
pill.
take this. Yeah. This is my saving
And
grace. Yeah.
and it's not because then it takes away the responsibility. And the biggest thing that ever changed my life was taking responsibility for my health, making my own choices about it, bringing it back to me and putting the power in my hands because now I rarely get sick because my health, and I even tell I can talk to myself. If I start to feel a little something come on, I talk to myself. I don't, and if I have to take like an ibuprofen or something like that, that's like very far and few in between. I don't do that. So I think, unfortunately, the over
Reliance.
reliance on it is the problem.
Yeah. So, how would you convince the mass to consider Ayurveda as part of their lifestyle instead of taking pills?
I think that I would ask them, how do you want to feel in your body?
Mm.
And I really want that person to really ask themselves that question. How do you want to feel in your body? And then I want them to ask the pill that question. Is that pill helping you to make feel that way in your body? If the answer is yes, then it's working for you. Because I'm not going to make anyone stop taking a pill. That's not my mission here. But if it's not, why isn't it? And just start asking yourself those questions because I can't convince anyone to do anything that they don't want to do, but I can encourage people to start asking questions. And when you start asking questions about your own health, and when you start asking those questions about how you want to feel, you'll start to have the awareness of, is this working for me or not? And if it's not, then let's try something else. And most of the time, when you try something else and you go back to yourself and you sit with yourself, you start to heal anyways. So that's kind of where I would ask, is like what I would have people start to ask themselves of, is this really working for me or not? And on an individual basis, we don't have to shut down the whole entire system.
Yeah.
It's just really ask yourself that. Is this working for me? How do I feel in my body? If the answer is it's not working and I don't feel good, then try Ayurveda.
Beautiful. Beautiful way to put it. Trying Ayurveda. I mean, me talking to you, that's like me telling myself as well. It's a calling that, okay, I've been putting it off, to be honest. I wanted to try it for about half a year now.
Mm-hmm.
I stumbled upon. I mean, I've read about Ayurveda, but it's just that right now I think this is the time.
Yeah, it is. Because none of us feel good in our body. That's the whole thing. No one's giving us an opportunity. No one is sitting. When you go to the doctor's not even looking at you, especially in America. It's on a computer screen. Their backs turned to me most of the time. They're typing. You know, I don't have them like look me in the eye. They're like, all right, go pick up your prescription. It's like no one's sitting there and asking you. So that's where it's like start to ask yourself that question. You know, that's what's going to shift your health. It's just that question because what you've been doing isn't working.
Yeah.
And that's what I started to realize. And then once I started to practice Ayurveda, it's not, and that's also another thing I want to let people know too, because yes, it did originate in India. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
started in that place, that's the birthplace, but Ayurveda is the science of life. It is the science of the human being. It is the science of who you are. And it's going to help you find out more about who you are. You don't need to start eating traditional Indian dishes. You don't have to
Yeah.
start dressing that way or
Yeah.
adopting that culture even because those are
That,
separate things.
that's
But
true.
Ayurveda itself is the greatest gift Ayurveda gave to me was me. It taught me my own nature. It taught me about my mind. It gave me, I've been asking people, who am I? Ayurveda said, here, let's figure it out. And I want to come out with like a book about that of like,
Yeah,
who
you
am
should.
Ayurveda? And like, that's what it's
You
going to be
should.
of how Ayurveda helped me find myself. And I just feel like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Oh my god. This is the impetus.
yes.
And yes, and that is actually what I wanted to ask you. Can you tell us a bit about your book, Cleanse Your Energy? Key
Yeah.
contents
So,
and takeaways.
yeah. So actually, I just hit my mic, but
Ah, you're prepared.
yeah, I read
Okay.
it so people can see. So basically, it's a book inspired by Ayurveda. It's also a book inspired by just my spiritual journey in general, but I use a lot of philosophical Ayurvedic and yogic philosophies because Ayurveda is what actually taught me about the 10 bodies and how my physical body is just one body within all of me, and that we have more than just our physical body. We actually have what's called our energy body, and it's our prana, and it's mostly how we prana is our how we engage with our environment through the breath. So you're not
Right.
just bringing in oxygen, you're breathing in everything, like feelings, this, that, like whether you're a sensitive person or not, if someone you walked into a room and someone just had a
Oh, you
really
can
bad
tell.
argument, you can
Yeah,
just
yeah,
tell.
yeah,
That's what
yeah.
it's invisible,
Because
but you can just
everything
tell.
is energy.
Exactly. That's my whole book.
Yeah.
Everything is energy. It's a simple, practical guide. I don't try to give a lot of philosophy. I go right into this is what your energy body is. This is what it looks like when it's clogged, how you'll know, what symptoms are going to show up. And then I give you ways to just start going in and cleansing your energy. It's very simple. It's very straightforward. It's things that you wouldn't even realize, like, oh, yeah, duh, I'm cleansing my energy. Like going for a walk in nature, literally, is one of the best ways to cleanse your energy there is. So there's 7 ways to cleanse your energy. There's breath work, there's visualizations. Like I said, the start of my journey was gratitude. Gratitude's a big thing in there. And I just kind of guide you through just simple ways that you can start to take your energy into your hands. Because when I start to cleanse my energy, a lot like my intrusive thoughts went down, my negative self-talk went down, how I felt in my body changed, how I talk to myself, how I show up, how I can hear my own voice a lot more clearly just by cleansing my energy because I know how I want to feel and I know who I am. So anytime now an energy comes in that's not that,
Yours.
yeah, I can tell it's not mine. And so I can, and then also too, it's not to say that like I'm always like this like loving thing. It's like
Yeah.
if I'm mad, I know to take myself
You're
out of the
aware. Yeah.
society for a second and
Yeah.
cleanse, and then
Yeah.
I can start to
Come back
see,
to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just, I really just wanted people to start to give them permission to one, like you said, recognize that energy is everywhere and it's in everything and it's the base of the building blocks of everything. It's our nucleus. Our nucleus is literally just a big black hole of just potential energy. That's what a
Yeah.
nucleus is. So
Yeah.
it's like it just made sense. So that's why I we're in a healing
And
era as the
and
world. So we need to cleanse our energy.
and we have 7 trillions of nucleus in our body. Like imagine if you change one, change 7 trillions of it.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, he's there. No, I thought he was gonna. He wanted to go
He's
out of
so
there.
cute. He's got like a personality, I will just say that.
Oh yeah, and when he comes into this house, I'll be like, no, this is no. They say when the cat portrays, they mirror the owner. So my sister always tell me like, you can never have another cat. It's Mario is you. You are Mario. So I mean, I beg to differ, but yeah, he can be an ass. So that means I can be an ass sometimes. But at least I'm aware about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
That's the
That
key.
doesn't just knowing who we are doesn't mean that we have to be this wonderful person. It means
Yes.
like, yeah, I can be a dick sometimes or I can do
Yeah.
that sometimes. And knowing that and being able to walk away of like say someone says something and you're like, I know what I'm going to say back and I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk away. Like
Yeah.
it helps even more. Like if you know you're a dick, it's going to make it
Yeah.
easier for you.
Yes,
Like
yes. You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to fake it, or you don't have to put on a mask. And they say, yeah, I'm. But I do sometimes when I'm driving, and I'm like, yeah. Before, okay, part of my spiritual journey, I think the initial part of it, I was trying to be holy and
yeah.
angelic, and
Yeah.
then I found out no, no, that's again, you're not facing your truth. So just
Yeah.
say the things, whatever you want, but then let go. Don't associate yourself with it. Just let go, feel it, let go, and then move on. But that doesn't mean that you're less of what you were before, or you're less what that you have achieved in terms of your spiritual development now. So
Yes.
of
Yes.
myself.
That's exactly what I tell myself.
I have this question. What's your heart's greatest wish?
My heart's greatest wish is for people to know themselves. The whole entire world is just to know yourself. And not through anything else than your
Not the
from
ego
inside
self,
first.
right?
Yes. The soul self.
The
To
soul
know
self.
who you are beyond everything that you were told you were. That is my heart's greatest wish. Because that's when the whole entire world is going to shift. Is when we can remember who we are before the world told us who we were. That's my greatest wish. I could cry right now, like it's actually real.
No.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Yeah.
Because then we'll stop being mean to each other. We'll stop being mean. We'll stop hurting the world. We'll stop pollution. We'll stop so many things because we won't want to.
Yeah.
We're only abusing the world because we abuse ourselves.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because it starts from us and it projects out, right? So,
Imagine, like, for example, and this will be I know we're getting kind of like going in deep, but just the thing that I help people recognize that is like, if you're angry, right, and you are coming from that angered place and you kick your dog, that's what the whole entire world's doing. Waking up angry, kicking the dog. You're trying to get that out, but you're getting it out onto something that is coming right back to you. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So it's like how
yeah.
we feel is what's being projected out, like you just said. And if we change and we know our truth, we won't have to kick the dog. You know, like we
Yeah.
won't have to abuse anything because we're now coming from that loving place. The more loving I get, the stronger my boundaries get, the more loving but I can give so much grace to people and I can give so much passion and compassion to people and I can sit and empathize with people and I can hold deep space for people to be seen and heard
Yeah.
because I
Yeah.
do that for myself. And I've seen how when you sit in front of someone and you give them the space to be seen and heard, that is the only medicine we need.
Yeah.
And then I'm not me.
That's
I
like
don't
the
kick
purpose, right?
my dog.
Then
Yeah.
at that moment, that flickering moment, you'd be like, oh, so this is why I'm alive.
Yes. Just like this conversation, like it's helping me be more seen in my life too. Like anytime I connect with someone who's similar, it makes me feel like this is why I woke up today. I only needed to talk to you. I didn't need to go out and talk to anyone else and get like $500 million and have like 50,000 followers. And you know what I mean? It's just like when you really connect, that's what we're looking for.
Oh, I wish I could hug you right now.
I know.
Virtual hug. Okay, so do you have a mantra that you live by?
I It's hard to say. I do have like an actual mantra that I live by, which is a yogic mantra. And I say it when I work on clients all the time. It's Rama Dasa Sa Se So Hung. And I just say it to myself all the time. And basically, it's one of the most healing chants that's ever been created. And it's actually a mantra. So if you look it up and you start to look more into it, and it's a so hung. And I used to chant it all the time. And it just has stuck with me. And I think the essence and the energy around that is like heal yourself, heal the world. And so I think that I just constantly keep that energy of like healing myself. It's like the Rama Dasa is the healing of me, the Sase So Hung is sending that out into the world. And that's just my take on me utilizing that mantra. It is a Kundalini yoga mantra, but that's like an actual mantra. And
Wow,
then,
yeah, that's like an actual mantra, like the
yeah,
Sanskrit, right? That's Sanskrit.
Sanskrit,
Yeah.
yes. And then I think the other one that's just coming to my mind is like live and let live. Like let people live their life and you live yours and just just allow yourself and allow others. There's not one size fits all. There's not one way of doing things. And I have to constantly tell myself that, like, how I'm doing this is how I'm doing this, and how another person's going to do it is going to be different, but it doesn't mean it's right or it's wrong. And that has given me so much freedom too, is just to show up in my life and just to let people show up in their life. And that's when peace happens. When you stop the control and you stop that fight and you stop that power struggle, to me is like, if I see someone doing something, I'm like, get a little judgy. I'm like, live, let live, right? Like, I
Yeah,
walk off.
yeah,
Unless, like, obviously they're hurting or breaking or being like, then I'm like, cops, right? Call
yeah.
them or something. But even then, I'm just kind of like, that's your choice, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's your choice that you're making. And whether it's good or bad, that's your choice.
And at the core of it, being authentic itself. Yeah.
Yes.
So, what keeps you up at night? Do you sleep well?
I mean, there's bills.
Same,
The
same.
overwhelming fear of terror of paying all the stuff all the time. Because it just gets more and more. I think that's kind of a little outrageous how that's gone. But to
Okay.
be like in a deep way, well, that also kind of shows our worth, right, as a world in a lot of ways. Of like that
Yeah.
to me speaks a lot about that. So, because I know almost everyone is feeling that in some way, like this pressure, because everything, especially since COVID throughout the whole entire world, is
Yeah.
just like, and it's a lot. Like it's just what used to be $5 is $50. It's not even
Yeah.
like 10. It's not, it didn't even double it, like freaking
Yes.
tripled. And I'm just like, okay, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Um, but other
That's
than
another thing.
that, what keeps me up at night is, how do I put into words? The masculine keeps me up at night, and I mean that in a way of, I just want men and women to start having a different conversation with each other. And I want us to start to really see each other and have compassion, because we're a lot alike as human beings than we realize. And that we've been letting each other down, both on both sides, because we have these extreme ideas of what the other one should look like and act.
Expectations.
Yeah. And I think that if we had a different conversation with each other and we became more authentic, right? And we became more real, and women were able to hear each other, I think so many things would change. And so that's kind of what keeps me up at night is, will we ever hear each other? Can we have compassion for each other? And I'm like getting emotional because it's like my wish. Because I just feel like at the base of a lot of our struggles is the struggle that we have with relying on each other and trusting each other to make this world what it is rather than this power struggle. So that keeps me up at night.
I felt that. So, last question. If you could have a quote right now for you to leave the audience listening and to the world as your legacy, what would it be?
What is it?
If you could have slash create a quote right now for you to
Quote.
leave, yeah, the audience right now listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
This is a good one.
That's how I close my session.
I know, that's a good one. A quote. I love quotes too, so this is like my brain's freaking out. It's
You're like, which one am I picking?
yeah,
Am
exactly.
I gonna...
But also, I want to be authentic. I don't want to use someone else's words, you know?
Yeah.
I think it would be cleanse your energy.
Wow.
I think that would be my legacy. Like in a serious general way of like get to know you. Cleanse out all that other shit that doesn't matter. Like just be with you, and that's why you came here to experience that. So I think if there was a legacy that I was walking out, I was going through the gates, and I had to say one last thing, I'd look back and I'd just tell everyone,
yes,
cleanse your energy. Cleanse your energy. It's helped. It's what's helped me, and I do it every day. And I just when people come in, and that's the whole thing about Ayurveda, even Panchakarma, it's cleansing. It's cleansing. It's cleansing. It's getting that stuff out. So yeah, if I was walking out, I was going through the pearly gates.
Yes.
I would look back and just say, cleanse your energy.
Cleanse your energy, world.
Yeah.
Mic drop. Okay, I don't
yes. Yeah. And if you need help, the book's on Amazon.
Okay, yes, that's fine. Yeah, before we go, so the books are in Amazon.
Yeah, the Cleanse Your Energy book's on Amazon. Yep.
Okay. So once this airs, I will be putting that into caption. And okay. Thank you very much, Sydney, for your time. I think somehow we're soulmates in past life. Definitely,
oh my god, I know.
Like before. Yeah.
Yeah, we have our glasses. We have like the little bit of red in our hair, and like we're just. I'm like looking at you, and it's like it's like a reflection of me. It's like really kind of interesting, to be honest. Yeah.
Like when we were talking, right? I was imagining that's the same. I imagined myself talking like that too. It was like a deja vu. It was like
yeah.
Hey.
I know. So we'll have to be friends. We're friends now.
Yeah, we definitely are. Yeah, already.
Yeah, exactly. Now I feel it.
Okay, so I want to ask you. I didn't see your social media. Do you have Instagram? Because I'm gonna clip some of this. I'm gonna take some clips out and I'm gonna post it. So I normally tag the collaborators. So yeah. I don't know. Do you have?
Yeah. So my business is Inner Element Wellness. It's at Inner Element Wellness for Instagram. Okay. And then my personal Instagram is Sid Arella. So it's SYDDERELLA. So it's kind of like Cinderella, but it's
Cinderella. Yeah. I got that. Yeah. Okay, so maybe you could drop me a message through Podbatch in a bit.
Yeah. Yes.
Or, yeah. Okay, so that I don't mess it up.
And you're okay, and then I can also just make our
Yeah. My Instagram, it's hang on. Let's see. Yeah, my Instagram is your_worthy_. Wait, your_worthy_podcast. So that's mine.
Your worthy
YOURE_worthy_podcast. Awesome.
I just started following you from my personal one, so.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we hopping off?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sydney.
Thank you for having me, and if you ever want me to come back or anything, and I'm sure I'll just keep in touch.
Yes. You have a good day, Sydney.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.